started off, the 20 car looked like he was a world beater. One time I looked up there, and the 12 and 22 would then run off and left everybody. All of a sudden, 8 and 1 car, and I said, "Where'd they come from, man?"
Yeah. But them cars, we talked before, Richard, they love that clean air.
Oh,
I don't care who it is, they love that clean air.
Yeah. And it's 25 or 3100s.
I don't know how much it is, but they...
Legacy had 3 cars in the race, and all 3 of them crashed, or got in a crash.
I think
a couple of they was all running at the end of the race, but they were just moving. They wasn't racing. Okay, Betty. It was a little bit different yesterday than it was at Bristol, wasn't it?
It was different, and you're going to have to explain it more than I can, because I'm not sure I understood it. But we happened to be there, and we was at the racetrack and watched it on television in the truck with the scoring, and it was hard to keep up with it.
And you said you sitting there watching the scoring and couldn't even keep up with the scoring part of it, But anyhow, started off, the 20 car looked like he was a world beater, and so like the 5 car was last week at Bristol, and right at the end of the first run, he just went all to pieces.
Yeah.
And I think he ran in the wall. I don't know. That race was over with. Then the next race was a little bit different. He started off in front.
Yeah. And with 2 tires.
Yeah, but they soon blowed him away. You mean? So I think he wound up, 16th or something?
The 20 car wound up 7th.
No, I mean in the second race deal.
Okay, I don't know.
And then by the third race, it was the third part of the deal. It was a completely different deal. I mean, one time I looked up there, and the 12 and 22 would then run off and left everybody. You know what I mean? And then along about halfway of the last run, all of a sudden, 8 and 1 car, and I said, "Where'd they come from, man?"
Yeah.
I didn't even know they was in the race, and they just run off and left everybody. And then the 8 car got trapped against the wall there and spun out,
leading the race.
Yeah, and they was back and forth. They was putting on a heck of a race, but the big deal was 4th and 5th and 8th and 10th. Those people were racing too. It didn't show it on TV. But they was having a heck of a race. So somebody was racing all the time.
They were, and but let's back up. You said the 20 car run off left everybody. Let's get back to they couldn't even make a lap without wrecking, Richard.
No, they did. I mean, the very first lap, they didn't even make the full lap.
I know.
And they had a big wreck.
It wasn't up to full. Couldn't been up to full speed.
And the 84 got right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Just wiped him out to begin with. We ran the whole race, and Legacy had 3 cars in the race, and all 3 of them crashed or got in a crash.
I think
a couple of them, they was all running at the end of the race, but they were just moving. They wasn't racing.
I'm not, Jimmy, somebody spun in front of him. He ran into him, and the 7 car just come down and ran over John Hunter.
He just went across the right in front.
I don't know how much that had to hurt him quite a bit. But it's hard to determine what was what. But the 43 had good speed, and he out there a lap down because he got into the wall, and but he was making good time till he lost it and got stuck up.
He spun that thing and then lost 3 or 4 laps, stuck up.
But at the end of the deal, the 1 car was the best car. Richard.
Yeah, well, the 24, was trying to give him a challenge, but the 1 car had it all figured out pretty good, and he stayed off the wall enough that he was okay. But it was one of those racetracks where some of them were running low, you could run high, and some of those cars was running in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah,
it makes it really interesting.
It's a good racetrack. But them cars, we talked it before, Richard, they love that clean air.
Oh,
I don't care who it is, they love that clean air.
Yeah. And it's 25 or 3100s.
I don't know how much it is, but they just, and we're talking about it getting so mixed up. But the crew chiefs and the engineers are getting so smart trying to
figure it out,
trying to do strategy stuff. That's what kept it messed up yesterday.
Like the 11 car, they kept messing up in the pits with him. Yeah. And I think everybody, there was loose wheels on some of the cars.
The the 12 car had a loose wheel, I think.
But
he was
a lot of the mistakes wasn't made on the racetrack. They was made in the pits because people are trying so hard to stay stopped as little as they can. I mean, some of them cars making pit stops with 4 tires and gas. Of course, that wouldn't filling them up.
No, they wouldn't.
But make them in 8.8 seconds, 9 seconds for a pit stop.
I don't believe I've seen any 8s yesterday, but I have seen some 8s. But
I've seen 1 or 2 8.8s.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at something else, I guess. But at the time, I've seen a lot of 9s.
Yeah.
9.2s, 9.8s.
Most everybody was at least in the 9s. And if you was in the 10s, you was completely out of it.
Yeah. But, I don't know. It was, golly, and I guess it was a good race for the fans because it wasn't decided till the last lap, last corner.
See, the 12 car was pretty good, and he cut a tire or something. Anyhow,
he had that loose wheel.
He had a loose wheel. He had to come in, and I think he wound up, 4th? But he was going to be 25th or something because he was going to have to stop again, and everybody else wasn't.
Yeah.
But they had that caution, and that gave him a break. So he probably gained 20 points because of the last caution.
But we're talking about up front and everything. But at one time, the 22 car ran 14th, and at one time, Richard, it looked like he is the world leader.
And that's what I'm saying. Him and the 12, but they look good when it's out front. Okay. But when they get back, it just slows the cars down. They just can't run as fast.
But there was one. But you're talking about different races. You got to bring it up as different stages.
Okay, stages. I call them. But to me, they're individual races. Okay. You can call them what you want to.
We're getting back to that. But one time, the 20 car and the 8 car come in and just got 2 tires. 2 right side tires, left them first and second, and the 20 car run good with them, and the 8 car
went all to pieces.
Yeah, and I don't know by all that the track could have changed some, Richard.
Undoubtedly it did because, like I say, the 1 and the 8 car wasn't even in the race, and then at the end of the race, they were the best 2 cars. So something changed. I don't know if they made adjustments on their cars. And other people made adjustments and went the wrong way. A quarter pound of hair just changes the car all to pieces. So, you don't really know what their strategy is or what they do during the pit stops. But that comes down to, you got engineers looking at the computers. They know when the guys is on the gas, how much they turn the steering wheel, how much they're on the brake. They know where they let off on the racetrack. So they sit there and they really know more about what's going on in the car than the driver does.
They need. I tell you what might help if they made them go back using a big piece of chalk and a blackboard like you started out when you drove in 1958. But that's a long time ago. I don't know what would happen.
No, the technology has changed how people look at racing as far as the racer's concerned.
Yeah.
I think from the fan standpoint, they don't know that all that's going on. They see you throw the green flag, people go race, and they throw a checker flag. But they don't understand, what it takes to get those cars out there and how they're developed and how many people it takes to run a race. Used to, you had a crew chief and a driver, and they was the only ones that communicated with each other. And now, you got the spotters, you got the engineers, you got the crew chief, you got the driver. It's so more complicated. I'm glad we got ours done when we did.
But the engineers, I sat in there and listened to them talk that of a morning. I think I'm honored to sit in there and listen to them talk, and it's unreal the ifs and ands they come up with that could happen, and then one situation changes every bit of it for the whole day. But that's quite a bit in a lot of the sports.
One car spinning out a caution flag at a different time. So the strategies change as the race progresses. Everybody sits down and says, "This is the way we're going to run this race," and then all of a sudden something comes up and they throw that out the window and they go back to computers and recalculate.
And just think about what's coming up.
Well, now they're in the Roval. Is that where we're going?
No, we're going to Talladega.
We're going to Talladega.
You're way ahead of you. You're getting behind again. But they'll be talking about gas mileage and who to pit with and what to do and everything. And then they're coming down pit road all together and not together. And
that's the only race we run where the guy out front doesn't dominate. Okay, you know, because all them other cars has caught that draft, and you got 20, 30 cars running in a big group. So, you know, there again, if everybody has to wait and see where they're at the end of the race. A lot of times you just run the race and just say, okay, I'm running 5th or 10th, or, you know, what difference does it make if I'm running 2nd? You know what I mean? And so you're just trying to make time. And there again, you go and say, okay, you know, we got to save gas here. Hope that guy up front slows down a little bit so that I can save gas.
Yeah, but you can lead the race. You know, it shows running 3/4 throttle. Now we're talking about Talladega, you know, but if you lose the draft, you're out of business.
The party's over then, unless they have a caution where you can catch up.
But 2 cars is better than 1. 3 is better than 2. 4 is probably better than 3. And I don't know what the magic number is for a car, but the pack, when they're 2 or 3 abreast, is not good. But when they line up, they can go places.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 cars working together can really go.
That's about the magic
They
number.
might be 2, might be 4, might be 5.
Yeah, but it's somewhere in that range.
Somewhere in that range, because then if you get, you know, 8 or 10, then somebody's slowing it down because it's too big of a hole.
But you know, you probably you did use the draft a long time ago, because we was down there in '63 at Daytona, and that Plymouth wouldn't run a lick by itself, and you'd wait on a Ford to go out and draft with, you know. So, but that's getting back too much history. We're going to Talladega this coming weekend, and keep our fingers crossed that we can. Well, 42 and 43 can do good.
If we can stay out of a wreck, we're going to be okay.
I think so, and not mess up on pit road.
Okay.
Okay, bud. See you next week.
I just think that makes everything pretty even as far as a bunch of cars are capable of winning races. Some of the ones that didn't make the playoff deal were still just as good or better. In fact, 2 or 3 of the ones that made it probably shouldn't have made it. And 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 that didn't make it or should have been in it. But that's just the way the point standing is.
Yeah, that's what they've created, and the ones that didn't make it and think they should have,
trying to prove
they're standing up and trying to prove something, for sure.
We hope they do a little bit better. You know, I think I've said this before. I think that starting the new season, first 3 or 4 races, I thought was pretty good shape for, you know, going with Toyota for the first time of a new car. But I don't know if we got worse or everybody else got better.
Yeah, they need to turn. We need to turn around and have a good race or two to not make the off season so long, and then that gives you a head start on
next year. Next
year, for sure.
There's not a whole lot they can do about it. The cars are so low to the ground that when the tires go flat, the underbody of the thing gets on the ground, and it's like a sled. So, you know, right now they need to have some kind of a pickup in the car where, so like some of the cars in California where they pick them up and let them down, up and down. They need some jacks on them things where they can jack them up and get them out of a hole.
Yeah, it's happened 2 or 3 times that people's been eliminated from the race just because they had flat tires, and I don't know, this car's created a lot of stuff like that, and they keep adding they're adding a strip down the car at Talladega. I don't totally understand it, but it'll be explained before the race to keep them from turning over the way they turned over. But maybe the cleanup crew need to have a jack and a set of tires to get them back to the pits. I don't know, but it's happened quite 2 or 3 times here lately that cars been eliminated because the body's sitting on the ground.